Some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist. I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Everywhere I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that in this life.
Oh, let's interrupt the guys. We got a lot to talk about. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm Utah LaVern, and this is yes. One street over. What's going on one street over from where you living? We are living right because we get to live and work in Robertson County. Again, I will continue to quote my wonderful mayor, County Mayor Billy Vogel. That's something he always says, and we'll have a chance to visit with him next week because the way it sets up, we have school board meeting on Monday night, and then the next week it's the county commissioners meeting with the county mayor. But today it is Dr. Danny Weeks' turn, and I emailed you yesterday. You know, it's so funny. I get so busy with school and everything, and I have all these reoccurring guests, and I try to send reminders. But sometimes in the middle of the night, I'll be like, oh, I forgot to send a reminder. But I sent you one yesterday early. And you said it's on my calendar. So I'm like, yeah, good deal. Because you have it reoccurring, right?
I do have that reoccurring meeting Tuesdays, and you know, I think just due to my meeting schedules, I think there are only a couple that we missed and things like that. And I always try to get somebody from our office that was at the meeting to come and
it works
give that good summary.
Great.
Good. Glad to hear that.
Well, and we've had the chance, Jim Bellis, our communications director, set up the interviews with the principals that he's done for the last 2 years. And I'm so thankful he did that because I think I originally mentioned to you that we had, when I first took this show on, they had that rhythm going, and I didn't understand it, and it kind of got messed up, and we just got out of the rhythm of doing that for several years. And then Jim said, we want to get back into this, and it's been so much fun.
Good.
And I've just learned so much from the different schools, and learned as somebody that's in the Robertson County school system, learned why we do what we do in this school versus this school, and it's about facilities, it's about timing.
Right.
People will ask, why are there buses on the road at 5 a.m.? Well, because we have some early starts and we have some later starts because we only have a few bus drivers.
Right.
And we'll talk about all those things. Let me ask you this before we get into it. Now, this is the last time during the school year. Will y'all have your school board meetings during the summer? Do you want to come in and talk about those? How do we want to do that in the summer? Do you know, or do you want to think about it?
The easy answer is yes, we do still have school board meetings. There's a lot that goes on. We do a lot of HR functions and getting people in place. The legislature has wrapped up, and I'm sure you'll have some guests in that'll be talking about legislative actions. But we meet with our policy advisors who help us craft or revise policy that matches new state laws that have been passed. And so a lot of those become effective July 1st. So we work on those, and we get policy to the board, and before the board, try to get those that or just directly impact students so that we can get that word out to families about what changes might be made and things like that. So we just received a packet yesterday, actually, of the new state laws. So we'll be breaking that down and diagnosing those and things of that nature. So we will have regular board meetings. And so if you're here, I've got you on my calendar anyway. So to do that, and I can't think of any times that I'd be out of town, immediately following a board meeting.
That's me. We talk a lot about going to Mexico. We have our mission trip that we take down there, and so we'll have that come up, and then Lee Marie will be sitting in for me on that. We're actually making a road trip to Mexico. Our church has bought. We're super excited about this. Our church has bought a van for the church down in El Rosario that we serve with, and so Mark and I are taking a cross country trip and driving down to the Baja, and it's going to be. We're going to be gone, a bit, but we're super excited about it, and it's going to be fun. But we like road trips. Yeah. So we're excited about that. So we'll be out. So we might miss one during that time. I don't really think so, because the time frame on it, we'll just have to look at the calendar. Sure. So with all that said, the bottom line is we're going to be checking in with school system and with Dr. Danny Weeks through the summer to see how things are going. And like you said, with the legislature, the legislative session has closed. I talked with Senator Kerry Roberts, and he didn't really indicate anything alarming or anything, just like, oh, this is happening. Right. As far as education, we didn't really get into that. He said, and he's not on that committee. Right. So that's a little outside. So, but did you kind of see some things that you think are going to be? I
have not gone through it because, again, as I said, I just received that yesterday. I don't know what the senator's talking, maybe, but I had a 19-page packet backs and fronts, so there will be several things. And again, it's some of it involves our office and just district operations and things that we have to do. But every now and then, I know there are things that students might have to do, and sometimes the legislature gets into curriculum and what is taught in our classroom. So we have to break those things down, get that out to teachers. Sometimes it's just a matter of I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, they changed the fire alarm schedules and things like that. So we have to go through that. Right. And those are things we always want to be compliant with what we need to do. And so sometimes it just takes time to break those down, assign them to a staff member, see who's responsible for that. Gotcha. And as I said, a lot of our work is we will see if there are things that directly impact students is our first thing. Sure. And if those are, we get those out and try to put those in our student handbooks. We try to make sure that we email those newer items to families, make sure they know that, and then make sure our teachers and our administrators are informed, because if there's something new that we have to do. I know there was a lot of talk about screen time for students during school. So, those are the things that we have to look at. We have to see what the intent of that is. And then we have to, just put practicality to it and see what we have to do, how we need to do it, and, how that impacts day-to-day operations, really.
Very good. And that's what we do over the summer. People say, our teachers take the summer off. Well, and admin doesn't. Right. And the central office will be open. And yes, as teachers, we do take time off. But my husband and I were looking at our professional development schedule. We're already looking at maybe going and doing a training somewhere, different things like that. We will for my husband and I, we're new enough teaching. We're constantly revamping our curriculum, because we get to the end of the year and we're like, okay, that didn't work. That got cluttered. Let's clean that up. Right. Let's streamline that. So we're in that mode. So while we are looking forward to having some summertime off. But there's a lot to do.
As a teacher, I know, and I was thinking last night how quick it seems like the spring is gone. And I know we talk about that. Incredible. So it seems like, it was just yesterday we were on Christmas break and things of that. And so I'll go ahead and drop this on you. It's It's about 10 weeks until school starts again, which is closer than Christmas was already. So I mean, we're closer to the start of a new school year than we were the midterm of this year.
I know, it's crazy.
It is. It really goes fast.
And that's fine with me. I like a schedule. I will keep doing radio. I'm not going to be sleeping in. This is just what I do. But so that's fine with me. But the thing is, too, that 2 weeks of snow just kind of really kind of messed with us. And what's really interesting, as much as it seems like it went super quick, as I'm sitting down and going through the newscast to do our semester review newscast, I'm like, good land, there's a lot. Because I have to bring it all together and then put it out for the kids to work with for the newscast. And so as I'm trying to discern all these different things, I'm like, there's a lot more went on than I realized, so there's a lot to it. But we're excited. Summer's here, pretty much. Let me just kind of recap. Okay, if you've got high school students, they will be on exam schedule next week. So on Monday, they'll find out if they're exam exempt. And if they are, then they're done Monday.
Yes.
And then if they have exams for second and fourth block, they'll have those on Tuesday. If they have them for first and second block, they'll have them on Wednesday. With a parent note, they can leave midday. Is that a school-to-school decision, or is that across the district?
It's policy.
Across the district. Yes. Okay. I wasn't sure if that's something that they decide from school to school. So they get to leave midday with a parent note.
Right.
Thursdays for makeups, and then Fridays we're picking up report cards, or you can just put your self-addressed envelope, whatever.
Let me throw in about exam exemptions.
Okay.
And just one thing that I know students probably don't want their parents to hear this, but if a student maybe is on a borderline, maybe they're on that borderline between a B and a C or a B and an A, sometimes taking that exam actually helps their grade.
Yes,
and
their GPA.
Right. So just because I've been given an exemption doesn't mean that I can't come in and take it. And so you could possibly come in and take that exam. It could raise your grade. And as you said, that affects GPA, which affects scholarships, which affects future. And, sometimes it's just that short-sightedness of, I don't have to take this exam, rather than I could take this exam and it might make a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And with Tennessee Promise, the seniors, I had a lot of conversations like that last week, where seniors were like, well, I don't really need that class, so I'm not going to get that done.
Right.
And I said, but what is that doing to your GPA?
Right.
Your bottom line? Is it going to drop you down below the threshold of where you can get your Tennessee Promise? And I had that conversation with two different ones because they're like, I don't need that class. But I'm like, but you're going to get a grade in that class, and that is going to devastate your GPA.
Right.
And they're like, but they don't, and they're just ready to be done. And so, those are the conversations that parents, man, absolutely look at those grades and see, because that Tennessee Promise money is awesome.
And I think it also speaks to your character. We still get a lot of transcripts from people who apply for jobs. Yeah. And, it means a lot to us when you look at a person's transcript, and you can sometimes see trends and patterns.
Yes,
especially freshman year of college. There are a lot of people getting used to it, and maybe not the best grades, but turn around, finishing strong, and going all the way through. But as you said, you might see a senior who kind of dropped off a little bit, and see those grades and those patterns. So it is something that. Obviously, we try to teach that, but it needs to be reinforced through the home. So it is that partnership, and again, sometimes it's hard for a student to choose, being out a half day to go run around and do things with their friends or go have lunch or something. But just knowing that could really make a difference in your GPA for the scholarships or requirements for jobs and different things like that. For sure. And, we talked about the high school schedule. I do not know how the elementary, middle school schedule works. So what, can you speak to that for the people? Because I can speak all over the high school schedule. But for middle schools, just like my husband drives middle school route before he picks up high school kids and then teaches. So for the, like the Coopertown kids, because that's his middle school route.
what will that look like next week? Because I'm assuming they go all week and maybe have a half day on Friday, or how does that work?
Go all week, and then we don't run buses on Friday next week. It is report card day.
Okay.
And so we encourage everybody to first of all bring their self-addressed stamped envelopes, and we will mail those from the schools next Friday if parents don't come and get those. So, but between now and Thursday, regular days, and when I say regular days, there are a lot of those fun activities that
they'll have
people
field
do.
days.
Field days.
Yeah.
I heard a principal last night talking about STEM Day. They were doing some STEM activities at their school, and there are some field trips. And
I've got one that I'm bringing my kids out to fly drones and play with cameras out in the field at my house.
Nice.
We've had other schools take field trips to our house because of the creek and stuff. And so it's just a good setting.
Sure.
And so, but I didn't mean to
No, not at all. But those are the things that, I've seen, and each school may have an individual deadline for grading to stop or grading to cease and grades to be due. So, if a student is still behind, we want them to get those things wrapped up for the same reason we talked about, making sure those grades are solid. And as you said, how are grades used? And sometimes those grades are used for placement decisions. So, do I take an advanced class or a regular class? And sometimes that's based on the grade that you received this year. Yeah. And, different programs have requirements for those. And getting ready to come to high school, any freshmen or entering freshmen, they're often placed based upon their grades and things.
Well, I even had some homeschool kids that are brilliant, and one student in particular that didn't make the top 10. And the question was asked, why are you not in the top 10? And it was because they had not taken some advanced classes that put people above them.
Yes.
And so those are the kinds of things you have to look at early on. If that's something that I had one that was like, I just had to have a white robe. It's something they had wanted from freshman year, and they made it, and they were excited. But if you've got those goals in mind, you have to start on that freshman year. You have to be looking at those classes if you want to be able to graduate with an associate's degree. Ace Timbermeyer's sweet girl did that. I saw that. Congratulations. But and she's also a valedictorian at, is she at Springfield or IA? Or East Robertson? Maybe they're at East Robertson. I can't remember. Yeah, see, I'm sorry, Ace. I can't remember where your sweet girl is, but she is valedictorian. But also, I saw where she got her associate's degree before she's going to get her diploma. And I've seen others do that, and you've got to get going on that sophomore year for sure. I mean, freshman year is a lot of entry stuff and kind of getting used to it. But boy, sophomore year, I've been talking. I have a classroom in my homeroom of Cat Time, a freshman. And this week I've got them in there again, and I'm telling them, these are the things. If you want to be able to do this your senior year, and it'll be here like that, you got to get on this next year.
And you need to, the importance of setting that appointment with that counselor and getting down there and talking and finding out, I can't sit here and just, make a statement about all the things you need to take. And there, some people, as you mentioned, honors classes or dual enrollment classes or AP classes, all of those things, they are calculated in there. And, we hear so many people talk about being afraid of, a GPA or being worried about a GPA. We throw in ACT testing in there, and that's important. And sometimes a lower GPA might be offset by a higher ACT score. True. And so again, I think those are things that, we encourage people to come by on open house, but, you really can have a detailed conversation about everything you need to take. If your goal is valedictorian, salutatorian, you can have that conversation in a 5-minute hallway conversation with a counselor. You need to make those appointments, come in and sit down across the desk and, get your plan together.
Yeah, for sure. And we've already, I think July 30th is our open house go night that we call it up at Greenbrier. So we've already got the date for that. And your other schools pretty much do
They
too.
all do, yes. Yeah. And I think we posted those to the website. So those are already out there and have been set.
On your calendar.
Yeah.
It'll be here before you know it, like I said, 10 weeks before we start back up. Anyway, all right. So we're talking with Dr. Danny Weeks. This is our director of schools, and we are coming up on the end of the 25-26 school year, but we're already anticipating 26-27, yes. And so excited about it. I tell you what, let's pause before we get into the nuts and bolts of the meeting, and let me go ahead and let's do one of our breaks. We have several we need to get to today, so let's start with Valor Mortgage. My friend Chris Armentrout is it was just one of those things. It was just a gift. He came in and Scott Irwin brought him in from the VSO office to talk about VA loans. And as we were continuing to talk, he knew that I was looking for another full-time sponsor, and they're a perfect fit to work with the Exit Prime with Barry and Rebecca Richards, because one of the first things Barry and Rebecca say is you got to get pre-qualified. When you come to us to look at a home, how much home can you buy? And that is the specialty that Chris and his experienced loan officer team, they work with. They're local. If you call one of the 800 numbers, guys, that talks about getting your mortgage or refining or getting a lower or maybe getting equity out, you're going to be a number. That's all there is to it. But not with Valor Mortgage. They're your team. They're your neighbors. They're going to work with you. They've got an office just a couple of doors down from the theater here in downtown. But Chris will tell you the best thing to do, give them a call, 615-671-9178, 615-671-9178, or go to valor.mortgage. Valor.mortgage to get pre-approved today, because you can stop by, but a lot of times they're out meeting with folks just like you. And it doesn't matter what your goals might be. If you need a VA loan, VHA loan, conventional jumbo financing, they have the tools to get you to the closing table to help you with one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make, and that's buying a home, or maybe buying a second home for investment purposes, or doing that refi that we talk about. Valor Mortgage is ready to serve you, because when it matters most, you deserve a lender you can trust. Buy with confidence. Buy with Valor. Valor Mortgage, NMLS, number 1210804. DBA of Encore Lending Group, NMLS 1249911. Equal housing lender, subject to credit approval. Rates and terms subject to change without notice. No, not a commitment to lend. Let them know U-Turn sent you. Now, on with the meeting. I know y'all did a lot of honors and recognitions and all that. So do you want to start there?
I will do that. Can I back up one second while Absolutely. We're talking about getting ready for next year?
Sure.
Let's just remind families, and particularly those with new kindergartners or new pre-K students, it is so important that you get to school, get to our office, make that contact, and make sure that you're registering your students.
Yes.
And I know for some parents that's a stressful time of, I can't believe my student's ready to go to kindergarten, and let's delay thinking about that, or let's delay preparing for that. But from our side, we need to know how many numbers we're going to have for each grade level and for each student. So, coming to school, registering your student, and it's painless. You've got to have some documentation, proof of residency, birth certificates, things like that. But coming to school so that we can collect that information. And if we can do that now, if we can convince families to do that and to see the importance of that, that's going to help get that student in a seat on the first day of school. So many times people will show up and wait until the first day of school and walk in and say, well, here's my student, can I just drop them off? Well, no, now they're missing class time. Yep. Now they're sitting in the office and people are filling out papers and completing documents. And if they don't have all of their documents, then they're having to turn around and go find those. Mm-hmm. And that's more of a delay, and those students can't stay at school. So, bringing those things in over the summer. I know we've had registrations, and if somebody says, well, I missed registration, I don't want to wait, or I want to wait or something, please don't. We want those parents to come on in, take care of those documents, get them registered, so that on day one, when they get on their bus, they'll know what bus they're riding. When they get to school, they'll know exactly which classroom we're sending them to. And the same thing, we've just had our open enrollment period, and so we made zoning changes we've allowed some of those students that applied for open enrollment to change where they're going to school. So, it's important they get to that new school, they find out what they're going to register for, and all of those things. And again, those are things that don't need to wait until the start of a new school year. A lot of our schools will be open for a couple of weeks right after school is out this year. And we've asked all of the schools to post their summer office hours on the door. So, it may not be a strict 8 to 3 or 7:30 to 2:30 every day and things like that. But it is important that if someone's moving, if someone's changing schools, if someone's new to school or trying to get into our pre-K programs, it's very important to us and for them so that they can get to the school and get their students registered so we can know who they are, what they're doing, if they need any kind of special testing, any kind of special arrangements and things like that. So we want to work with those families early. And again, if they think they've missed registration, please come by and see us.
I have a question based upon that. I have a friend that would be out of county, but just on the edge of, I guess, Davidson and Robertson. They would like to switch their kids to the Greenbrier district.
Great.
Can they do that?
They can make application to do so.
Okay.
And so generally that requires a letter of, if they're already enrolled in school. So for
Right.
instance,
They're enrolled in school.
So we require a letter of good standing or good grades.
Okay.
So grades, attendance, and behavior.
Okay.
That information is submitted to our assistant director, Steve Sorrells.
Okay.
And Mr. Sorrells reviews that if he needs to make contact with the other school. But it's pretty quick, and they can make those decisions usually within about 7 to 10 days.
So I would just advise them just to have, would they need it per child or just for the family in general?
Per child. Because
Per child.
Yes.
Okay, a letter of good standing. Okay,
And that may be a transcript.
There's about 5 kids in this family, and ages from elementary through middle school, and they just want a smaller school environment.
And again,
we talked a lot.
We look at numbers and we look at class sizes in each of those grades and everything. So it's
okay.
And again, that's one of those decisions that should be made early.
Okay. Well, we had this conversation last Wednesday night, and I told her then, I said, I'll check on it, and then it slipped my mind, and so then you mentioned it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to check on that. But okay, good deal. Well, I'll get with them tomorrow then.
And just as importantly, just in cases like that, if our students are leaving, maybe we have a family moving out of the area or going to a different place or choosing a different school setting or something, go ahead and let your school administration know those things now, because we don't want to be 2 weeks into school and have a student's name on our records,
they're not there.
In your class roll that you're wondering where they are.
That happens.
And it does. And so, that takes a lot of time for our school secretaries, our school attendance staff, and sometimes we have to put social workers trying to chase down people. And, and a lot of times they'll come back and say, oh, we moved over the summer. Well, if you know that, if you know those things, go ahead and turn that in.
Well, and one thing too is, like I've told this family, I said the big thing is transportation.
Yes.
You can have the intent to do that, but just know there's not going to be a bus to pick you up and carry you to school, because if you're out of district, then you have to make your own transport. Because it was the same thing whenever they redistricted with some of the White House and Greenbrier kiddos and all that kind of thing. So we had the same situation. So just that this is the time to do those things.
Yes.
This is the time to get that done. So I'll get with them and fill them in.
Our offices are open in the summer. So people that have questions about that are just wondering, curious, or, we can sometimes, even if a school door is not open, sometimes we can help through our student services office to help get them enrolled and to help get them at least get them the right paperwork that they need.
Very good. Very good. Talking with Dr. Danny Weeks about there's a lot really at this time of the year, because we're already gearing up for next fall, because we want to start strong. And as a teacher, we want your kids registered, because when we have kids coming in that have not been there for a week, and we're already, we try to kind of do just get to know you things for a couple of days, but then you got to get into it. And I pretty much jump in with both feet, because we just got all kinds of stuff going on. But we got to get the news out. So, it's our thing. But nonetheless, I know some of these math classes and English classes, they've got curriculum. They've got to get covered. They need to be in there on time.
Exactly.
And then they need to be there every day. So anyway, so let's get to it. What all did you do last night?
Yes, as you mentioned, last night was the night of recognitions again, and that's, we say that a lot, but it's important to us that we recognize the students. And so last night was high school night, and I'd be afraid to even guess how many high school students were there. We have every student that won or earned something outside the county or higher. So it could be, a mid-state thing, a regional competition, a statewide competition, and then we even had some national competitions. And so it was, I know two of our board members, just made the comment about, there's students there from the fine arts, there's students there from athletics, there's students there from CTSO clubs and things and organizations where they've won something, students who just have been recognized for, writing an essay or winning a contest or something like that. So anybody that they turn those into the principals submit those to us, and we want to recognize those. And so we do middle schoolers, junior hires in our April meeting. And in our May meeting, we cover the high schoolers. And so there was a great crowd, and it's just so exciting to see them, to have their parents there with them. And we have certificates for them. Then we make a group picture. And so it's just a really wonderful night to do that. And it was really a great crowd there for that.
I'm sure, as I'm thinking about some of the ones at my school that would have been honored. I mean, we had a lot of good things happen over the year, so that's exciting for them.
So the other recognition last night is since this time last year, we've had 31 people announce their retirements. And
wow.
So that's a large group of folks.
A large group.
And
I know a few of them, but yeah.
Yes, and so we had a reception for that group of folks, and again, that it included teachers. We had some transportation folks. We had some cafeteria and school nutrition people, and it's just again, it's a pleasure to see people who have not all of them have served 30 years, but many of them very close to 30. Would give one shout out to our transportation department. We had a bus driver, Mr. Willie Mason. A lot of folks know Mr. Willie. Yeah. He has more than 50 years that he's served in our transportation department. And so, when you look at 50 years, yes, that's great. But it's I saw some colleagues that I taught with that were there last night, and on the other end of that, I saw a lot of teachers there that I remember hiring as a first-year principal.
Oh, wow.
And some of those folks retiring. And then there are a couple of people I believe I've seen in class that I taught that are actually retiring. So
that's wild.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've been at it. We were just discussing how many years now?
This will finish 39.
That's what happens when you've been in it that long. And you have
right.
somebody that retires at 20 years, that
Right.
and that does happen.
It does happen.
So I mean, that's where my husband and I, we're figuring we'll land at about 20 if we go as long as we want to. And everybody's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. It's our plan. But anyway, well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So with that said, how are we doing as far as hiring? I guess all the jobs are posted, right?
They are posted. And let me give a shout out to our Grow Your Own program.
Yes.
And the
that's
Grow
wonderful.
Your Own
I love
program
that.
is an opportunity for maybe people that had something happen in life and they started college or maybe never had the opportunity to even go to college. And so we help find them jobs within the school system while they take their classes, while they're employed. So a lot of them work as teacher assistants and other type jobs like that. And so they can do those things while they're working. And then they're taking their classes in the afternoons or at night. And, it's a tough schedule. But sometimes it just gives those people an extra boost that maybe they didn't have time for, or, life happened and got in the way somehow. And so we have 19 people that are completing the Grow Your Own program this year.
Wow.
And so, it's not always an even 31 out, 19 in.
Yeah.
But
that helps.
The program that they're working through, the Grow Your Own program that they're currently working through, allows them to teach anything. Not sure if it's kindergarten through 6th or kindergarten through 5th, but they come out with that elementary education degree. Yep. They also come out with a special education degree.
Oh, wow.
And so we try to talk with them, try to find out where they would like to be placed. So, even in an elementary degree, some people want the kindergartners and first graders, and other people want the 5th and 6th graders, so there's some conversation in there, and some people want to be placed in special ed classrooms. So we really give priority to those 19 people to get them in a classroom where we are. So I think I signed some letters yesterday that would make their assignments for the next school year. So that's a good jump for the HR department right there. And then, of course, following that, as you said, there are jobs posted, and I know principals will be interviewing. It also gives teachers within the system an opportunity, if they have a desire to move from one school to the next, that gives them an opportunity to apply for a transfer. And in those transfers, they can make those requests, and the principals would interview and make recommendations to our offices, and we can make those decisions and try to get people placed. But again, it's the same conversation we were having about students.
Yeah.
If there's somebody out there and thinks, well, maybe I'll go down to the central office this summer and try to find a job. Come on down now. We've had our first job fair. Principals are looking at names. People are looking at the what jobs are available and things like that. And even if you don't see a job posted today, I would say go ahead and fill out that application, get it in there, because we don't know what happens. Somebody might walk in tomorrow and get married and find out they're moving out of state, or just across country, or anywhere. And so we want them to have an application on file if they want to do that. And I know we always talk about this too. Even if somebody has a bachelor's degree and it's not in education, if there's a job out there that we can help you get a permit or a waiver or something like that, we do that. Now that's not our first choice. We look for people who are certified, and we owe that to those people, I believe, who have teacher certifications. But if someone has a degree in mathematics and they've finished their career as you did, and another career or something, and say education sounds like something I might like to try, go ahead and fill in an application. Sometimes things just come up.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what happened with me. I've mentioned a couple of times I went to a job fair. I was looking at being an EL. I wanted to teach with the newcomers and do ELL and English language learners. And I got a phone call just randomly from Dr. Osborne going, well, we've got a different idea. And it just was I had no idea. I don't know that it was posted. And maybe it was, and it just wasn't on my radar, but probably, I had never even thought about it. And it just was a perfect fit. Same thing with my husband. He was in transportation, was the safety coordinator for transportation. And then we got to looking at criminal justice and realized that his degrees allowed him to teach criminal justice because he has his master's. And there's so many options you don't know until you know, and you got to look at it, go apply, and say, what about this? Mm-hmm. And see where it takes you from there. You just might be really surprised, and it could be just the perfect fit for you, as it has been for us. So we're super excited about it. So come and join us. That's the point. There
So both of those things, I had to say, took place before the meat of the meeting, the reception for retirees. And again, most of those were there. We had a small token of our appreciation for them, had a nice little plaque that could sit on your desk or your mantle or somewhere. So doing all those good things, and the students that we had. But from then, it was rather a quick meeting, good discussion. Started off talking about the personnel reports. And so we talked about both people that have retired, people that have resigned. And again, this time of year, there are people that make those decisions that want to do something else or choosing to do something else. And so the personnel report's rather lengthy because there were names on there of people who have already made application to transfer to another position in another school. So we're trying to take care of as many of those as we possibly can, and helping get those people in place so they can, be ready to pack their things, go to another school. Same thing even in our departments, in transportation and school nutrition, maybe they'd rather work at a place closer to home, or, maybe different hours, because our schools do have some flexibility in their hours and things. So it just, we take care of that, and the board, again, looks at those, and if they have any questions, we try to answer those for them. We always is trying to be good stewards and being transparent with our budget and our finances. We always look at a financial report each month, and trying to make sure we are on track with revenues coming in. And I will say, property tax and sales tax are the main sources of local revenue here for us. And then we, of course, get state revenue that comes in. And so we always compare revenue to expenses. And, of course, our goal is always to budget efficiently, but, we're not trying to save money, and, we're trying to be conscientious in how we spend those dollars that are allocated to us. So we look at that every month. We look at where our expenditures are that take the majority parts of our budget. So teachers' benefits, teacher salaries, employee salaries. We've had to have our eyes focused on gas and diesel
That's
the
what I was
last
gonna
month
ask
or
you.
so.
What's the situation with our fuel cost?
Yeah, and it's just as of right now, we're in pretty good shape, but you never know. It's always one of those things that a budget is a plan, and just like just like we do at home. Sometimes
Right.
our budget. The first day you create a budget, a lot of times it's not where you want it to be.
Car breaks down,
Right? It's
and then you
something
have
happens.
to adjust it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as we look at those things and as we go through those things, we check those. And again, we check those on a month by month basis. Our office is very conscientious about those, and we want to make sure we're where we need to be. So we check those before each board meeting, make sure that we have discussions about, maybe we're just, there's some things we can control, and gas and diesel we can't control.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we will look at there. We always look at an attendance report, or we started looking at an attendance report, I guess since about October and November of last year. And we look at our attendance rates per school, and we look at our attendance rates for the district. And pleased to know that our attendance rates for March and April, about 93, 94% overall, and that's really good. April was even higher. And so I think there's that emphasis on getting ready for TCAPs, being at school during TCAPs, and we really stress it's very difficult to make up a missed TCAP test.
Yes.
And so to be in school to do those things, and I seem to remember I think there were 5 elementary schools that had above 96%.
Oh, that's great.
And so that is great. I think Greenbrier Elementary School led that group. But again, 3 or 4 other schools that had above 96%. And then White House Heritage, they have kind of led the charge all year long for our middle high schools. And I think they were above 98% this month.
Oh, wow.
And so to see those numbers, we look at that, we see where we've been, we look for patterns and trends. And again, those are things that our office does regularly, and then we report those out to the board. The last piece of our attendance reports, we look at the number of students that have missed 20 or more days. And unfortunately, sometimes, we talked about controllables and uncontrollables. Sometimes there are, you get sick and then you turn right around and have something else come up and you get sick again, or you have to be out or something, those things come up. And sometimes we have families that are just in a bad habit of, I don't feel like going to school today, and I take off a day. So, we are held accountable for any student that misses more than 10% of the number of days they're enrolled. So, we use 20 as kind of a benchmark, even though it's usually 16 to 18 days that if a student misses, we're held accountable for them, and our schools each receive a letter grade on their report cards. And so that's a piece of their report cards that, we try to partner with outside agencies. We try to partner with social workers and getting into homes. Oftentimes we talk to churches. We talk to people that can encourage families to see the importance of doing those things. And, even in just making differences in like how we schedule our appointments. I know any of us that go to doctors and have doctor appointments, you can't always get one after 3:00.
Right.
But oftentimes we see families that might, take off a whole day for an appointment that's at 2:00 or something
exactly.
like that. And so as we try to encourage a student is kind of present when they're in school 3 hours and 16 minutes. And so that student, that has the 2:00 appointment, come on and do your morning classes and, have lunch, and then, you can head out where those appointments are, in time to get there. And again, we understand that, but that student that makes that 3:16, they're going to be able to count that, and we count that at school. That's the requirement for being kind of present that day.
I don't think I knew that number, that 316 number, because I talk to my students all the time about if I try to take them on some fun field trips.
Sure.
You don't get to go if you're not here.
Yes.
There are very strict attendance requirements, or you don't get to go on field trips.
Right.
And so I tell them that at the very beginning of the semester, if you want to go, and I tell them at the first of the year because it carries through the year. And so, but that 316, I'll add that to my spiel that 3 hours and 16 minutes is the mark.
And you talked about for a field trip, but it's the same thing for athletics.
Yes.
So if you have a ball game and you're not counted present that day, you can't play that night.
Yep.
So there are all kinds of things with that, and the same thing. If you do have an 8 o'clock appointment in the morning, go ahead and do your appointment, but come on into school. You can most likely still get your 3 hours in.
Yeah.
So that
You're
the learning,
present,
right?
yes.
You're counted present, and then you get the learning. You're not in that situation where you're trying to make up work or something like that. And you're also, you're counted present, so that does make you eligible for the nice things that go along with school.
There you go. And so there's just so many things as we're wrapping it up, getting ready for the summer and getting ready for next year. Talking with Dr. Danny Weeks about all things Robertson County Schools. Let's just go ahead and continue on with that. We're about 15 minutes out. I've still got to do a break, but I want to make sure we get to all the things. So I'll just let you keep going.
So some of the I guess maybe interesting to staff, not as interesting to the general public, I wouldn't think. But we approved a pest control contract last night, so we when again some people just think like, well, why do you have those? We have more than 2 million square feet of building, and so obviously all the pest services that we need, and so that's one of those things that's bid out, and vendors place bids on that, and so. Approved a pest control contract last night. We approved a housekeeping service contract for next school year, and so that contract's going to be in place starting Memorial Day. And so we'll have housekeepers come in that start stripping floors and start cleaning their buildings from all the use that they take during the school year, and they'll put the new fresh coats of wax on the floor, shine the floors up, clean the windows, do some of the get the stuff ready for fall, and so those are a couple of things that are going out there, and parking lot bids. So we have a couple of parking lots that. I think we have those on a cyclical repair.
We had ours redone. I'm thinking year before last. I think so. We got restriped and recovered and all that.
So they approved some bids on that last night. So we have a couple of schools that'll be getting those for the year. And then there was I guess the biggest thing that I think that's been ongoing is looking at where we are in terms of facilities and land purchases and things like that. So there's still some discussion about the need, because our space is running out. We are very tight in spaces in several places. And so there's been conversation about a White House Heritage Middle School. There's been conversation about a Springfield Middle School. There's been a conversation about a land purchase in Springfield for middle school space. In White House, we already have the space because back in 2010, when we purchased the land for White House Heritage High School, we went ahead and on the back part of that property, went ahead and did all the civil work and cleaned that up and got that ready. We call it pad ready, so they could start pouring and working on that. So, great foresight. We figured that to have not done that then would have probably cost us $5 to $6 million now.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it was very wise.
That was,
and I think that's a conservative estimate of what it would have cost you because of White House booming like it is.
And so to have that, and that's part of the conversation. So the board is going to have a special session on May the 28th.
Okay.
And on May 28th, they're going to just carry on that conversation because it's to build a middle school now, assuming that we have property and everything. The size middle school we need is probably in the $45 to $50 million range.
Yeah.
And so that's nothing, and the board certainly doesn't take that decision lightly. I don't take decisions lightly like that of making that, because that impacts all of us. It impacts our. We believe the county can do that without any type of tax increase, but again, that's decisions that our board would make those requests of the county commission, and the county commission and mayor would consider those requests. So that process, our next step in that process is May 28th.
Okay.
And so we'll be looking at that.
Well, if you have anything that needs to be covered or put out, let me know.
Yeah.
We can make some announcements
Sure.
on it, or you can come back in if you want
Yeah.
to. We'll have another visit.
And it's not to say the board's going to make a final decision on that night, but
Sure.
it's just there were some data points that they wanted to take a look at. They wanted to take a look at school capacity, school enrollment trends, and they also want to look at school zoning. And I guess it was last year we did considerable amount of rezoning out and away from the city proper of White House, to bring a lot of those students into the Greenbrier-Watauga cluster. And so that's going to be a part of that conversation on the 28th as well.
Very good. I'll tell you what, let's pause here and let's go ahead and take care of our final break, and then we'll come back and we'll let you regroup. Before I go to this, though, I got a text from Danny Ashley that I want to mention. They're doing the play called Making Hands, and that's a reference to tobacco tying and things like that. And it is a historic play about our county, and it is phenomenal. And it's going to be the first play that will be back at the theater at IA in the historic theater. They are real. They've had tryouts. They're doing their auditions, but they really, really, really need an African American male and female teenager to college age. I've got a couple that I think I can talk to through our theater department at Greenbrier, but I'm afraid their schedule is going to be tight. And that's the thing. This is a summer production, so if you know of a young person, African American, real important roles that they need filled, teen to college age, reach out to Danny Ashley and to the Robertson County Players, because this is a powerful play. It is a wonderful play, and I'm super excited about it. But he texted me that, so I just wanted to go ahead and put that out there, because you may know just the person that you're like, oh, they'd be great. And, it's just something that can open up some doors and just something new for some folks to do. But we're going to pause and talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty, because this is a busy week for them because they're getting ready for the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival. They are founding sponsors and on the board for the festival. They will be out there with me. I'll be there Friday and Saturday. Cannot wait to see you for the Dan Kelly fiddle competition. And it's not just fiddle competition. It's anything bluegrass on Friday night. And then we'll have music from 11 till about 7 on Saturday. A $10 ticket will get you in. But it is just the most wonderful venue, and it's just a great place just to sit and visit. Barry and Rebecca will be there with their tent. It'll be a great time to sit down and talk to them if you're wanting to buy, if you're wanting to sell, if you want to be a realtor. We've talked about how that some kids coming out of high school want to go into real estate. Barry and Rebecca would love to mentor you to do that. And this weekend at the Kilgore Festival will be a great time to sit down with them. If you can't make it to the festival, that is okay, because all you have to do is give them a call at 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, or 7424. Barry says just Google us, Barry Richards, Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty. You'll find their web pages, all their social media contacts. You're going to find about all their listings that they have, all their listings that have already sold. Guys, if you are thinking about buying, what Barry will tell you, it's always a good time to buy, because as he says, if interest rates are high, prices are lower. When interest rates go low, prices go up. It just works that way. So yes, it's a good time to buy, but you got to get pre-qualified. That's why we're telling you to check out with Valor Mortgage. But anything that you're looking for, buying or selling, if you're selling property and it's not getting enough activity, you might need some videography, better photography. How about some drone footage, walkthrough tours? Because Barry has a background in media marketing. He was a vice president of a media marketing company for 17 years in Nashville before he started this. So he is an expert at it, and he would love to help you package your property to make sure it's seen in the best light. He has a brokerage office here in Springfield. Rebecca has her agency office in White House, and together, along with other agents, they make Exit Prime Realty. You can connect with them at sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy BUY RobertsonCounty.com, or you know what, better yet, just come out to the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival this weekend and meet with them there. And I'll see you too. And if you talk to them, they'll let them know you turned cinch up. Dr. Danny Weeks is in the house, and we are talking about all things Robertson County schools. What else do we need to cover?
Well, we that wrapped up business last night. We did. Our newest elected school board member attended last night as a guest, Mr. Bill Pearson from the Cross Plains East Robertson area, northern and kind of eastern Springfield as well. But we welcomed him as a guest last night and introduced him to the board. And we look forward to he'll be sworn into office before our September meeting, and then he'll actually take seat at the September meeting. So we welcomed him last night, and then we wrapped up with I guess what's probably my favorite part of the year, talking about graduations and graduations, banquets, proms, award ceremonies.
Here we go.
I think mine started last Tuesday or Wednesday, but since last Wednesday, something every night. And we talked about, I think tonight there's an awards program. Last night, several awards programs throughout the county. I attended one Saturday, one last Friday, and everything like that. So those are the fun times to get with students and celebrate what they're doing, their accomplishments. We had a school nutrition party for the employees of school nutrition, and just fun times to get together and enjoy that. But graduations start tomorrow night, and so they run consecutively. We've had some baccalaureate services, and again, we're thankful for churches and ministerial associations that put those programs together for our seniors. And again, those just some wise scriptural words to graduates so that they can come be a part of that service. And we're thankful for our communities that have those events and host those events. I believe we have one of those in every one of our communities, and that's a good time to see graduates there and hear a good word of advice, scriptural advice for the people that sponsor those. Again, those are optional activities for seniors, but graduations again start Wednesday night. We're excited about those, and it's such a pleasure to see happy, smiling faces coming across the stage, and you see some scared faces coming across there, and not knowing what the next day might bring for some of those folks. I know I had an opportunity to participate in the Air Force JROTC Awards program the other night, and they talked about how many students had made commitments to enter the military. And so, again, just great opportunities, great to see our students be successful. And so between tomorrow night and next Tuesday, graduations each and every day and each and every night. Yep. So a lot of long days for us ahead just the next few days.
Yeah, Greenbriers is next Monday night, and we have our baccalaureate on Sunday afternoon, and looking forward to honoring those kids at both of those. But I know Springfield's is Thursday night because, again, those are the affiliations my husband and I. Right. But outside of those, I just know they're all the time.
Right.
Ongoing. Well, East Robertson, I know, is on Saturday because we'll be doing the Kilgore Festival, and East Robertson's having their graduation. But we're down the hill, and all that happens every year, and it's never a problem. But we do see the cars up on the hill.
Is East Friday, maybe? Huh? I think East is Friday.
I thought it was Saturday night.
No.
Maybe it is Friday night. Okay, maybe.
Make sure we know where we're going.
We have an event on Friday night, too.
Yes.
But we always see the activity, and people will say, what's going on at the school? And it's graduation. So if either Friday or Saturday, I'm sure you're much more accurate than I am.
East Robertson is Friday.
Okay. Well, we have the Dan Kelly thing going on, but we'll be down at the park, and it's up at the school, but we just see the activity. I'm glad you corrected me.
Joe Burns and Heritage on Saturday. Okay. So Joe Burns that morning, Heritage at night.
Evening. Okay.
And then Monday you mentioned Greenbrier, and we'll finish Tuesday with IA.
All right, there you go. Well, I'm glad you set me straight because I was really thinking East Robinson was on Sunday. So, but anyway, nonetheless, it's going to be busy. This man's going to be running like crazy for the next week. So, Godspeed. Get some rest. Try to at least.
Thanks so much. We'll do that.
Anything else that you've got to cover before we wrap it up?
Just wanted to remind folks, if there are things that we can help you with, our offices are there. We want to be able to help. But we also want people to be connected with the people that can help them most. It's one thing to call and ask me a question about what's going on in a class. The best person to talk to about what's going on in that class is that teacher. If we have trouble communicating there, a principal or an assistant principal. But, if our office can help connect you with one of those people, can help make those connections, can help you fill out some paperwork over the summer. We have a lot of students that forget that they have to have a certificate from the school system saying they're in regular attendance before they get their driver's license. Yeah. So we give out a lot of those in our office over the summer. And again, we encourage those to get those from the school before school's out next week. But if they forget, we want to be able to help there. And we are available over the summer to help in any way we can.
Very good. And there will be summer schools, things like that.
Yes.
That will be. When does that actually start up?
I believe that's the first week of June. So
okay, so yeah, it'll turn around pretty quickly. And does it run for 4 weeks? Mm-hmm. Okay, so 4 weeks. And do you know which schools are going to host it?
I do not.
Okay, because that's one thing. It really depends on the enrollment and how many kids that you have to accommodate.
Right.
So you just know that you'll see some buses out there. You'll see some things like that, and that's a chance for the kids to do some recovery so they can go on with their classmates.
Right.
And and it's just a good opportunity for them. But I think that we've still got a minute or two if you think about anything else we need to cover. But I think we got it. I'm proud of it.
Pretty close, yeah.
I was going to say, we were going nonstop there for a minute. I thought, are we going to get all this in? But we do encourage you to be a part of everything going on. And what we'll just kind of circle back around that if you think that this is something you might be interested in doing, my friend Christopher, tomorrow, StayPositive.news is coming on. My friend Christopher Lyons is affiliated with them. And he interviewed my husband and I about us retiring into teaching. And he was like, I think I want to do that. And then he's teaching English. And so if you hear me talk about it, if you hear us talking about it, you think, maybe that would work for me, check into it because we absolutely love it. And same thing with driving a bus. People's like, I can't imagine driving one of those things. They're fun. I drove one when my kids were in school just to help out. And I'll tell you, they're fun and they're nothing like as intimidating as you think. And you just have to learn the process. And we will help get you licensed because we're really short on drivers.
Yes.
So if that's something, this summertime is a great time to be looking into that and maybe becoming a licensed bus driver just to help out.
Right.
We're losing our Miss Tish over at the cafeteria, so we're going to need help at the cafeteria. So just go to the website, check out all the job listings, and come be a part of what we have going on at Roberts County Schools. How about that?
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Danny Weeks, our director of schools. Thank you for joining us. And we will talk to him next week, or next month, even though we're on summer. And tomorrow, again, we've got StayPositive.news coming in. And it's going to be a fun time just to talk about all the wonderful, positive things going on in the world and in our county. God bless you. Have a great day. This is 1100 WSGI.
Tired and your burden's heavy every moment.